Hey, before I start the show, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you could do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel, sign up for notifications. It'll really help get the word out about Take Pride in Retirement and spread the word about all the great things that we're doing here. Now, on with the show. Hello there and welcome to another edition of Take Pride in Retirement. Matt McClure here with you, your host, your advisor, your friend, your pal, and your confidant. Thanks so much for being a part of things as always.
And I am Josh Noble, the attaché to the advisor, aka co-host, aka Matt's husband.
I mean, just wears a lot of hats.
Yes.
Multitasking is a thing, and he does it. But I really do thank you, not only you, Josh Noble, but you watching or listening to the show. If you're watching on YouTube, please do us a favor, give it a big thumbs up and a like, and subscribe to the channel. Really would help with the algorithm. Send the video around, like spread the word about all the stuff that we're doing here, and just trying to spread the word ourselves about retirement planning, specifically for LGBTQ plus folks, but allies, anybody really. As we always say, it's no matter who you love, where you come from, how much money you have, how you identify, any of the things, any like characterization that you can think of, it doesn't matter, because we all deserve a retirement that we can take pride in. And the whole point of the show, right, is to help us get there. So that's what we do around these parts. You can also go to takeprideinretirement.com. Takeprideinretirement.com is the website for the show. Reach out there, schedule a free consultation. I'll talk about the consultation and all of that as we continue on with the show today. If you prefer as well, you can give me a call, 855-246-9211. 855-246-9211 is that number. And now, as we start off the show here today, we're going to talk about, it's the $1.46 million question. How much do you need to retire is the question that we're going to be asking. And, as we kind of always do in the setup here, or well, not always, but most of the time, I'm the advisor around these parts, and Josh is here to ask questions so that I can clarify things, because sometimes these financial concepts can kind of go over people's head, right?
Yeah. And like I always say, Matt is the advisor that cares. And why I say that is because he knows what he's doing. He specifically knows what he's doing within our community, and everyone's situation is different, right? So please do reach out. And as he said, please subscribe. And I did want to sing that if I could, Matt.
You have my permission. You don't even have to ask for my permission, really.
Subscribe. We're still working out the tune, but every time you say subscribe, there has to be something. Subscribe if we want something low. But yes, anyway, so we're talking about this magic number, right, Matt? So myth versus reality. So I keep seeing this, I keep hearing this magic number for retirement, and it's 1.46 million because that sounds overwhelming and crazy to me. So should people really be aiming for that number? And why does that feel like that number keeps going up every single year?
Well, it does keep going up every year, just about every year. I think last year it actually took a dip from 2 years ago. So in 2024, it was 1.46, and then it went down to like 1.2 something, and now it's back up to 1.46. That ties for the highest ever on record. And it used to be like, people would say, oh, I need, if I could get to $1 million, that would be amazing for my retirement. But this is kind of that number, according to Northwestern Mutual, the study there, as reported via CNBC. The magic number, 1.46 million. And that's up 15% from last year. And here's the thing. Do you need to save that much money? Depends. Wouldn't it be great if we could all kind of, get there or above that? That would be awesome. But it depends, because everybody's situation is different. That's what I always say. Like that magic number is kind of like the average. So there are a lot of people who don't think that they'll need that much money in retirement. There are a lot of people, I guess, that being the case, who think they're going to need more than that in retirement. And so it is rising. There is persistent inflation. There's a longer life expectancy, right? People are living longer, so it takes more money to live longer, especially when things like healthcare costs and stuff keep going up. There's uncertainty surrounding Social Security. So people want to have a safety net of their own so they don't necessarily have to rely on that if Social Security benefits have to get cut in the future because of budget concerns and that kind of thing. But remember, and this is something that I'll say probably more than just this once, retirement is not just about that one big number. It's more about like income and sustainability, like giving yourself an income that you're not going to outlive. And that number is really what's more important. And again, it's kind of different for everybody.
Yeah. And so if it's not about the number, then what should people be focused on?
Well, you got to focus on that income, right? You got to focus on the different income streams that you're going to have. And pretty much everybody, if you have paid into the Social Security system, or you qualify because of a qualifying spouse or even ex-spouse, that kind of thing, you can count on Social Security. Now, I mentioned a minute ago, are there concerns about like the budget for Social Security, the trust fund, running out of money in less than 10 years, it's projected now. That doesn't mean that Social Security is going to go away, but that does mean that unless something happens, benefits are going to have to be cut. And so that, not a good thing, but Social Security, it's in my opinion, still going to be around because it would be political suicide for anybody to, any political party or any politician to be responsible for anything else happening with it, right? So you got to have that monthly income stream taken into account. Another income stream is from your retirement accounts. So your 401ks, your IRAs, your 403bs, your TSPs, if you're a federal employee, those type of retirement accounts are tax advantaged accounts that you can count on. And these three things, now those are the first kind of two legs of the retirement stool here. The retirement is built on a three-legged stool, right? So one is Social Security. That's one of the legs. Your retirement accounts are another leg. And then your either pensions or annuities, that's another leg of your retirement. You don't want to have two out of the three legs because I don't know about you. Last time I sat on a two-legged stool, it didn't hold up very long. So I kind of tipped over. So there's
sorry, everything leads to a tune in my head. God rest her soul, Catherine O'Hara.
I know. God, what a funny woman. And what a funny movie.
Yes.
Everybody.
Everyone go watch that after you listen to every one of Matt's podcasts and contact him for a consultation.
Yes, that's your assignment first. And then you're allowed.
Then you're allowed to go see Waiting for Guffman with late great Catherine O'Hara.
Yes, 100%. But so that annuities concept there is like a personal pension because, as I often say, you used to work for a particular company for, 30, 40 years. And then you would retire, you'd get a pension and a gold watch. And they'd say, okay, great. Here's your gold watch and your income for the rest of your life. Not many employers do that anymore. And so there's a personal pension concept there that we can talk about how to build your own and give yourself an income that you can't outlive. And then, for our community, for LGBTQ plus folks, there are historically less of those available, historically less by way of like pensions that are available. There are more career disruptions historically, as well as someone who was, someone who lost a job based on my sexuality years and years ago. I can attest to that. And so that's even just amplifies the need to build your own income plan for retirement, not rely on these outside sources that may or may not exist anymore. And then there's also, chosen family considerations to take into account. Income planning becomes even more critical because not everybody fits inside the same little, box of, a husband and a wife and 2.5 kids and a dog and a cat and a white picket fence, So you've got to just take your own considerations into consideration when you are looking at your retirement and your income specifically in retirement. So if you've been stressing about that one big number, I want to say, let me take some of the stress off of that whole situation for you. Let's actually shift it to a plan that has to do with income. So reach out. 855-246-9211 is the number. 855-246-9211. You could also go to takeprideinretirement.com takeprideinretirement.com. That's the website. You can schedule a consultation. It's right there in the link up the top of the page. It's absolutely free of any cost. There is no obligation either. And I would love to work with you. So there you go. That's how you get in touch.
Yes. Call Matt. Please email Matt. Contact him. He will help you. And we all need help. Honestly, what I always like to say too, he takes away the scary, right? So as again, I've said that everyone has a different situation. And I've seen firsthand how you're able to bring these people to understanding the best path forward for their finances so they do feel secure and less stressed, as we always say. But here's the thing. So talking about that 1.46 million, if people are aiming for that, how close are they actually getting to that number?
Well, good question. And a lot of people, according to this same study, almost half actually of non-retirees, so we're looking at 46%, don't expect to be financially ready to reach that big number, right? There are some benchmarks that one of the big sort of companies that manages a lot of 401ks and IRAs and stuff called Fidelity, they have sort of these benchmarks or these guidelines that people should kind of strive for, just as a general rule, not like a carved in a stone tablet brought down from the mountaintop rule, but like something that's a general guideline for folks. They say that you should have 4 times your salary in a retirement account of some sort, or retirement accounts of some sort, 4 times your salary by the time you're 45. And then by the time you are 60, you should have 8 times your salary by the time you're 60. Now, here's a sort of a reality check for people who are in Gen X. So not the people who are currently retiring, but people who are not far away from it, really. The Gen X, the older Gen Xers are getting there. 54%, so more than half, have 4 times their salary or less saved. So they're not close. And only 19% have hit that 8 times benchmark that's been suggested. So no, I mean, people are not really, by and large, getting there to that big number that people keep talking about.
Yeah, well, that's a little scary. So what's causing people to fall behind like that?
Life.
Yeah.
Life gets in the way. It does. And that's just, you don't have to feel bad about that or guilty about that. It's a human thing. Trust me, I know, I've been there. It is, it's a fact of life that life gets in the way. So, delayed savings, perhaps, like not focusing as early on in life on the savings as you probably should. Like if I knew everything in my 20s that I thought I knew, boy, I'd probably be like, I don't know, a gajillionaire at this point. But I am not. So there we go. But, delaying your savings beyond what you probably should, maybe what's been recommended, that kind of thing. Inflation eating away at your progress because the price of anything and everything not getting cheaper, right? There is this lifestyle creep, so we're sort of get to be in a point where we're not necessarily even living beyond our means, but maybe we are living beyond the means to save first, right? And we'll kind of talk more about that in just a little bit, but we don't put as much of an emphasis on saving because we're doing other things. We're going, we're doing, we're buying, all the stuff. There are also, for our community, LGBTQ plus folks have faced historical wage discrimination, wage gaps as a result of that, maybe job discrimination as well, a lack of generational wealth transfers in a lot of cases. Maybe you didn't have a family that was supportive, so you got written out of the will or something like that, God forbid. And maybe also, you've been caregiving for friends or partners, but without the legal protections that usually come along with that. And so maybe that takes more effort, certainly, and more money and more resources of all kinds. But here's the thing, though, is you're not alone in this. You are not the first person to have gone through what you're going through, or at least something similar. Thing is, you do need a plan. And so I would encourage you, no matter where you are, if you're behind those sort of guidelines there, if you feel like I'm never going to get to that 1.46 million or whatever my number is, if you're ahead, or if you're somewhere in between, maybe you think you're right on track. Sure, but just get a second set of eyes on your plan. And I would be glad to put that second set of eyes on it for you, absolutely free of charge, no obligation to continue on working with me. But you'll get some in-depth information about where you stand, where you could stand if you do start working with me and we implement a plan that I would recommend. The key is just taking that step, reaching out. Go to takeprideinretirement.com, schedule that consultation. Once again, the website is takeprideinretirement.com.
Yes. Contact him. All right. Let's talk about the younger listeners like me. I'm only age 25, right, Matt?
Yeah, something like that.
All right. So let's talk to the younger.
A couple of decades.
Listen, let's talk to the younger people that may be listening that have time on their side, right? Time is on their side. So what should they be doing right now to avoid becoming part of those statistics? So basically, like, if you could talk to your younger self, Matt, what would you say?
A lot of things. But that's a subject for a different show.
When it deals with finances, what would you do?
There we go. That's actually is a lot of the things that I would say. What I would say to anybody, and we're talking really about people who are sort of mid 40s or younger, right? So we still do fall into that category technically. But yeah, if I'm talking to my younger self, I would say start early, because the power of compounding interest is a real thing. It is huge. And, it was Einstein who called it the eighth wonder of the world. Because let's say if you put a certain amount into a retirement account and you start doing that early, yeah, that's going to earn a certain amount of interest. But then let's say that next year, you kind of count what you've earned in interest as part of the principal now. And that larger amount is going to then earn interest on top of that, and it compounds. It's like a snowball effect in a very good way, in that way, right? So like there are some numbers here. Some of the good numbers that we're seeing is that younger people are actually starting to get into saving, putting money away for retirement a little bit earlier. Gen Z they're actually starting as young as age 22 putting money away. So good on you, Gen Z. Millennials, a little bit behind, started at 28. And then Gen Xers started at 32. So we can see a trend, right? That things are getting better as far as the generations starting to put money away earlier. And, hopefully that's a good sign that will continue. But, here's the thing with this. If you are younger, put an emphasis on, this is definitely one of those things that I would have told myself, put an emphasis on saving first, paying yourself first. And Warren Buffett had a great quote that he says, don't save what's left after spending, spend what is left after saving. And that's a great way to think about it. Like you're paying future you first. And then if you've got that sort of mindset going in, and you can do things like automate your savings. So where it just comes out of your paycheck automatically, goes into a savings account. You don't see it. You don't think about it. It's just done for you. That's one easy way to really do that. And then you've got to build a foundation here, right? So you get that savings happening, and then make sure that you've got enough for things like an emergency fund, at least like 6 months worth of your basic expenses, your living expenses, should the unthinkable happen and you like lose a job, or there's a big expense and you got to have a new roof on the house or something like that. Pay down any high interest debt. I mean, credit card debt today, you can be paying upwards of 30% or more in interest. Ridiculous. So don't carry debt on those high interest credit cards. Maybe you want to look at life insurance, or maybe even disability type insurance kind of thing, but definitely life insurance that maybe has some living benefits. So if you do become disabled, you can take advantage of those. And then keep that savings rate steady as your income rises, or even increase it a little bit as your income goes up. You get a little bit of a bump in pay. Don't, start saving a smaller percentage of your paycheck. No. At least save the same percentage of that paycheck. So you're saving a higher amount, or up that percentage at least just a little bit.
Yeah. And what about our community, the LGBTQ plus community, the younger folks specifically? What should they be doing?
Kids today. You should be in a situation where you're doing all those things that I just said, but you also have some speed bumps along the way, possibly as well, right? You're more likely to have some financial support from your family that might not be as, you know, generous as some others, or a lack of family financial support altogether. You could have higher housing costs that if you've moved to somewhere that's more inclusive, because, you know, obviously like the rent or a mortgage in New York City is going to be a lot more than it is in, you know, I don't know, middle of flyover country somewhere. And so that is an important thing to keep in mind. And that makes that automation piece that I was talking about and discipline even more important. Okay. So set those things up, let them happen without you seeing, but also try not to dip into those funds unless you absolutely need them. And make sure your beneficiary designations are correct. You know, if you have like, you know, I go through once a year and I make sure that Josh is my beneficiary on all the things. And
Who?
I don't know.
Goodness.
I make sure that you are my beneficiary on all of the things because I just want to make sure that nothing's happened that has changed that. And then also, you know, if you're in a relationship where maybe you weren't previously in a relationship and maybe a parent or a sibling or something was your beneficiary, but now you want to change it to that partner, you need to make that update. And then, you know, as long as you have that in place, I think you'll be in a good spot. Oh, and legal planning really matters as well. Like just making sure that if you are partnered, not married, that you have those powers of attorney. Even if you are married these days, Lord, who knows? You got to have those powers of attorney, especially like, you know, the medical power of attorney kind of thing, and see a legal expert for that. But, you know, if you're getting started in your career, you want to make sure you're doing things right. If you've been in your career for a long time, but you're just started retirement planning, I'll help you map it out, right? So just give me a call, 855-246-9211, 855-246-9211, or you can also go to takeprideinretirement.com.
And now let's talk about those people that are getting closer and closer to retirement. So if someone feels behind right now, is it too late?
I always go back to thinking about this guy who we met, who's now a client at Atlanta Pride this past year, who came up to me at our booth there, and he said, I'm never going to be able to retire. Never. And the reason that he started working with me as a client was later on when I was able to do an in-depth review of all of his stuff and come up with a plan. I looked at him and I said, you actually can retire, and probably sooner than you thought. And so seeing that look on his face of just relief is huge. So no, you're not too late. I don't think ever. Adjustments may be needed though to make sure that you kind of get caught up. There's a reality when it comes to spending. I mean, a lot of people think that they're going to spend less. I think it was in this survey, more than half of people think that they're going to spend less in retirement. But the reality is a lot of people spend more in retirement. You're doing, you know, you have more time on your hands. So maybe you're traveling more.
Those cruise ships are not going to pay for themselves. Sorry to interrupt. That's the thing. Like once you have that time on your hands, you're going to want to get out and still live, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then, you know, a lot of people too, if you feel like you're behind, maybe you can do some part-time work, something that's fulfilling in your retirement years, maybe something that you want to do, but just do that part-time and you can keep putting money away for later on in your retirement years there.
Yeah. Well, and like we've talked about this in the past too, about people that plan to continue working, right, in retirement. And so that actually sounds pretty positive because you're working because you want to, instead of working because you have to.
You don't want to be in that situation where you're working because you have to. Right. If you're working because you want to, that's awesome. That's great. You're still able to do that. That's wonderful. But if you are, you know, someone who is working because you absolutely could not make ends meet otherwise, that's not a situation that I want you to be in. So I want to help you get out of that potential situation. There was an advisor actually who I spoke with not long ago at a client who in retirement was doing some part-time acting, even just like, you know, a local theater show here or there, or, you know, we live in the Atlanta area. So everybody's trying to be on TV or in films these days, as Josh knows. But that was a really fulfilling thing for them, and it helped them put more money away for their retirement years. And the benefits of working longer, you get to delay your Social Security, and so that means your Social Security income is going to be higher when you do take that benefit. There's less strain on your investments. You've got more time for growth. So even if you think you don't have time on your side, maybe you do, right? You can just maybe delay that retirement just a little bit so that you can put more money away. And for LGBTQ plus folks, I mean, flexibility really here is key, because you might not have traditional spousal benefits that, at least historically, maybe you do now, but maybe you haven't always. The dual income sort of assumptions that people make about retirement and being two people, still having their income, or two people having Social Security income and all this stuff. Because you may not be partnered or married or whatever the situation might be. So those assumptions don't always apply. Healthcare, long-term care planning, all of that is even more critical for folks in our community as well. So if any of that sounds like something that you need planning for, takeprideinretirement.com is the place to go.
Excellent. So if someone's listening right now and they're feeling overwhelmed, what's the one thing they should take away?
Well, I would say you don't have to feel overwhelmed. You might feel overwhelmed right now, but you don't have to. The big thing to remember is that retirement is not a fixed date. There are a million different choices that you could make as to, okay, when am I going to retire? And if you get to a date that maybe you had set as a target years and years ago and you're not ready, then just delay that date, right? Or if you're ready sooner, sure, go ahead and do that. But the thing is, if you feel like you're behind, if you feel overwhelmed, don't feel that way. Just make some small adjustments now. It doesn't have to be some huge decision that is just life altering and can, I don't know, stop the flow of time as we know it or anything like that. It's nothing that earth shattering. Make some small adjustments. As you do that along the way, those can make a big difference. And, just plan more intentionally. And all of that kind of stuff can prevent bigger problems later on. So whether you're 25, you're 55, or even older than that, the worst thing that you can do is just continue to delay, because the sooner you start, the better. The best time to start is right now. So that's kind of the big takeaway here. And what I want you to do is just focus on building a retirement income, right? And work with a professional who has done this for a lot of people, getting them a retirement income stream that they cannot outlive. Boy, a guaranteed income for the rest of your life, that sounds like a plan, doesn't it? And if you want to get started on that plan, go to the website, takeprideinretirement.com. It's takeprideinretirement.com. You can also give me a call, 855-246-9211. 855-246-9211, again, is that number. The consultation, absolutely free.
Wonderful. Great advice today, Matt. I think that this is something that could really help people, hearing this from you. And again, the advisor that cares. So contact Matt. Don't be overwhelmed. Don't be stressed, and just make a plan. You're going to feel a lot better knowing that you have security in a path forward and knowing what's best for you. And like we always say, everyone's situation is different. So don't automatically assume that you cannot retire, that you can't do what you think you should be able to do. That's why Matt's there. And he always has your best interest at heart, and that's what he's going to stick to.
Yeah, absolutely. You deserve a retirement you can take pride in, and I want to get you there. So go, once again, takeprideinretirement.com. All right, Mr. Noble, thank you so much for being my attaché, as always.
Thank you, Mr. McClure.
A pleasure, Mr. McFarland. Appreciate that. And if you get that reference, leave a like and a comment. We'd appreciate hearing about that as well. But until next time, take pride in yourselves and take care of each other. We'll see you then.